Outgoing ANC President Jacob Zuma addressed the party's 54th National Conference in Johannesburg. Political report by the President of the African National Congress, Comrade Jacob Zuma, to the 54th National Conference of the ANC, Nasrec Conference Center, Johannesburg, the 16th of December 2017. Deputy President CDE Cyril Ramaphosa and all national officials of the ANC, members of the National Executive Committee, leadership of our alliance partners, the SACP and COSATU plus SANCO, leadership of all formations of the mass democratic movement, representatives of all our fraternal organizations here present, religious and traditional leaders in our midst, representatives of the business community, members of the diplomatic corps and other observers, esteemed delegates from all ANC structures, especially the branches, comrades and friends, fellow South Africans, we convey warm and revolutionary greetings and welcome you all to this 54th National Conference of the African National Congress. We gather again at this venue with fond memories, as it was here that the ANC held the first consultative conference inside the country at the end of 1990, following decades of banishment, illegality and exile. It was at this same venue as well where Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo addressed ANC members together for the first time after 3 decades, and where we first charted our path to power. We are inspired by the history of the ANC that was made in this venue, as we chart the way forward for our movement. Today also marks the 56th anniversary of the establishment of the Revolutionary People's Army, Umkhonto we Sizwe. We have in our midst the members of Umgwenya, the elite combatants of the Luthuli detachment whose bravery was proven in the Wankizipolilo campaign in Zimbabwe. They were the first to meet the enemy forces in arm-to-arm combat battles. Recalling this battle years later when delivering his political report, Oliver Tambo said, "Our combatants together with their Zimbabwean comrades acquitted themselves heroically in battles against the combined Smith and Vorster forces. They carried out their mission gallantly and valiantly. We salute Basil February, Patrick Malawa, Indris Motsepe and other comrades who lie buried in the soil of liberated Zimbabwe." On our national calendar, today is the National Day of Reconciliation, on which we remind ourselves of our responsibility to promote unity and reconciliation, in the spirit of the Freedom Charter and the Constitution of the Republic. Next year we shall celebrate the centenary of 2 remarkable leaders of our people who would turn 100 years old in 2018 had they lived: President Nelson Mandela and Mama Albertina Sisulu, the former co-president of the United Democratic Front. The unity and true reconciliation of the South African people must be continuously pursued in the memory of such selfless leaders and many of our people who sacrificed immensely to achieve the free South Africa we live in today. We wish all South Africans well on this important national day. Comrades, we had declared 2017 the year of O.R. Tambo, in celebration of the life and times of this great unifier of our people who kept the ANC together in many decades in exile. We express our sincere gratitude to all for the successful year-long celebration of the life and times of Comrade O.R. Tambo throughout the country, the continent and the globe. As we begin this conference, in which we must attend to enormous challenges facing our movement and our country, we are reminded of O.R. Tambo's counsel when he delivered his political report in Durban in June 1991, when he said, "We did not tear ourselves apart because of lack of progress at times. We were always ready to accept our mistakes and to correct them. Above all, we succeeded to foster and defend the unity of the ANC and the unity of our people in general. Even in bleak moments, we were never in doubt regarding the winning of freedom. We have never been in doubt that the people's cause shall triumph." We should be inspired by the vision, character, wisdom and clarity of O.R. Tambo as we deliberate in this conference. Economic Transformation. The 54th National Conference is convened under the theme Remembering Tambo Towards Unity, Renewal and Radical Socio-Economic Transformation. We are building on the instructive theme of the 53rd Conference in Mangong, which was Unity in Action Towards Radical Socio-Economic Transformation. Going to that conference, we had become alive to the fact that the country needed to get onto a higher development trajectory in order to move more speedily to the national democratic society envisaged by the Freedom Charter. We recognized that the project of nation building and social cohesion made possible by the democratic breakthrough of 1994 was coming under threat. It was clear that we had to implement more radical measures to realize the injunction of the Freedom Charter that the people shall share in the wealth of the country, or alternatively, we had to accept that it would forever remain a dream. In a word, radical socio-economic transformation underpins the policy framework of the ANC in this current phase of our struggle. The ANC NEC Lekgutla in January produced a definition of radical economic transformation. We said it meant the fundamental change in the structure, systems, institutions and patterns of ownership, management and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of whom are African and female, as defined by the governing party which makes policy for the democratic government. Comrade Oliver Tambo had outlined this state of affairs decades before when he said, "We fight also for a South Africa whose wealth will be shared by its people equitably. We fight to abolish the system which obtains in our country today and which concentrates almost all productive wealth in the hands of a few, while the vast majority exists and toils to enlarge that wealth. We must be mindful of the fact that the primary beneficiaries of the current socio-economic status quo will by nature be opposed to any talk of radical economic transformation, because it challenges and threatens the status quo and seeks to transform it fundamentally. We have to act decisively, as doing nothing almost guarantees that there will be little progress in the resolution of the triple challenge of poverty, inequality and unemployment. On the other hand, reckless action will plunge the country into deep economic and social distress. We must tread carefully but act because of the serious economic challenges facing our country currently. The economy remains fragile. Economic growth of 1.3% is projected for 2017, reaching 2.2% by 2019, supported by global growth, stabilizing commodity prices and a modest recovery in business and consumer confidence. Improved policy implementation, which must be a key focus area in this conference, will improve the employment and investment outcomes. In the 52nd National Conference in Polokwane, the ANC called for a mixed economy, where the state, private capital, cooperative and other forms of social ownership complement each other in an integrated way to eliminate poverty and foster shared economic growth. Conference directed that the state must play a central and strategic role by directly investing in underdeveloped areas and directing private sector investment. The ANC government has indeed been directed to utilize to the maximum the strategic levers that are available to the state to achieve transformation. These include legislation, regulations, licensing, budget and procurement, as well as broad-based black economic empowerment charters to influence the behavior of the private sector and drive transformation. Conference will no doubt reflect on these and other instruments as we discuss the implementation. The land question is a fundamental issue that the ANC needs to resolve and is a key factor in the transformation program. This ultimate natural resource must be distributed in an equitable manner while enhancing its productivity and ensuring food security. The ANC government has made considerable progress in the last 5 years, especially in establishing a strong policy and legislative framework with regard to such matters as land tenure and the shift from willing buyer willing seller to just and equitable. The Office of the Valuer General has been set up, which has begun to change the manner in which the calculation of fair compensation is done. A new bill has been developed to amend the Expropriation Act. 2 land audits have been carried out to build a fact-based planning purposes. With regards to human settlements, we have to move with speed to roll back the legacy of apartheid spatial planning, which condemns the majority of our people to be born and bred in areas determined for them by the Racist Group Areas Act. With regards to the ownership of the wealth beneath the soil, the mining charter was reviewed to determine progress in the achievement of the target of 26% ownership by black persons by 2014. Some progress has been made, but it is patchy. The revised mining charter of 2017 takes this into consideration and, among other things, raises the targeted black ownership to 30%. The challenges facing the mining industry and the need to have policy certainty require action from us as the governing party. Conference should give direction on the matter in a manner that does not destabilize the industry further because of its strategic role in the economy as a whole. We also need to protect jobs in a difficult economic environment in the mining sector. Our cadres in Parliament should also ensure the finalization of the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act soon in the new year to ensure policy finality in this sector. Among the key obstacles to transformation are the high levels of concentration in the economy as well as the collusion or corporate corruption and cartels. Comrades will know the deep and bitter legacy of economic collusion, which is equivalent to a form of corruption, from the days of apartheid, when companies meet secretly and decide on prices or divide markets among themselves. These cartels squeeze out small players and hamper the entry of young entrepreneurs and black industrialists. Since the last national conference, the Competition Commission has uncovered cartels in sectors as diverse as construction, steel, banking, automobile components, food markets, telecommunications and transport. In the construction industry, more than 20 companies were exposed as being part of cartels that rigged their bids for the 2010 World Cup stadium and road projects. The Competition Commission has also investigated collusion by 18 global and local banks, involving the foreign exchange markets. Earlier this year, the Commission concluded its investigation into the banks and proceeded to the prosecution stage. Market inquiries are currently taking place into the private healthcare industry and corporate practices in the grocery sector, including in shopping malls and townships, in the public transport sector and in the data services sector. As these are uncovered, serious concerns have been raised that corruption in the private sector is treated with kid gloves, and is referred to in softer terms such as collusion, accounting irregularities, or lapses in corporate governance. Theft and corruption in the private sector is as bad as that in government, and must be dealt with decisively by law enforcement agencies. Corporate collusion is now a criminal offense, punishable with 10 years in prison, in terms of a new provision signed last year. Legislation and institutions have been put in place by the ANC government to eradicate corruption in the public sector. Since 2009, the President of the Republic has signed 84 proclamations authorizing the Special Investigating Unit to investigate maladministration and corruption in government and state institutions. The allegations made against some sections of the business community regarding the said capture of the state to advance business interests will be probed further in a judicial commission of inquiry that we committed to establish as the ANC some time ago, in order to uncover the truth. Let me emphasize that we need to find ways of protecting the ANC from corporate greed and ensure that the decisions we take are informed by the policies of the ANC and are not dictated to by business interests. Already we have received threats that the ANC will implode and the economy will collapse if certain outcomes arise from this conference, be it conference resolutions on the economy or the leadership elected, if these are not those favored by business. The ANC has 105 years of experience of managing contestation, which is an internal democratic process. We must build a resilient ANC that can withstand such undue pressure and enable the ANC to conduct its organizational work freely. Meaningful progress has been made through the ANC's affirmative action and broad-based black economic empowerment programs and policies. The ANC must attend to the issues affecting the black middle class, such as racism in the workplace or business. Concern has been raised by many black professionals and business people that stereotyping is being entrenched. Being black and successful is being made to be synonymous with being corrupt. The ANC must promote black advancement and success and fight attempts aimed at frustrating and undermining black economic empowerment and affirmative action. Access to finance for black entrepreneurs also continues to be a challenge. We need to reflect on this as we discuss the transformation of our development finance institutions. Organization BUILDING. I would now like to reflect on organization building and renewal. The 54th National Conference is taking place at a time when our movement is at a crossroads. While we identify corporate greed as posing a serious threat to the ANC, we also need to look at internal dynamics within our organizations, which makes it possible for external influences to pose a threat to the organization. The negative tendencies that have been creeping in since the dawn of our democracy in April 1994 in the ANC have intensified over the years. They have now come to a head and are threatening the survival of the ANC. As we intensify organizational renewal at this conference, let us be reminded of the words of Isaiah Wilandwe Walter Sisulu, who said, "It is a law of life that problems arise when conditions are there for their solution." The ANC is 105 years old because it has always been able to rise to the occasion and deal decisively with problems that threatened its very existence. We are called upon at this conference to solve our problems so that the ANC can focus on leading society. The ANC remains a dominant force in the country in terms of being in control of the National Assembly, 8 provincial legislatures, with 1 provincial legislature being in the hands of the opposition, following the 2014 national general elections. We thank our people for putting their trust in the ANC in those national elections. However, the outcome of the local government elections of 2016, which indicated a serious decline, were a stark reminder that our people are not happy with the state of the ANC. A substantial number of traditional ANC voters stayed away from the polls. We lost 3 key metropolitan municipalities, Tshwane, Johannesburg and Nelson Mandela, while we run other through coalitions such as Ekurhuleni and Rustenburg. In addition to the internal issues, our research also indicated the issues that our people are concerned with, issues such as corruption, crime and unemployment. The National Executive Committee meeting in the immediate aftermath of the announcement of the results attributed our loss of support to perceptions in society that we are soft on corruption, self-serving and arrogant. It is clear that our failure to confront problems head-on and solve them had begun to take their toll on the movement. Previous national conferences identified the negative tendencies that we need to attend to effectively, and these still exist in the movement, undermining its standing in society. The scourges of factionalism, gatekeeping, ill-discipline, membership buying, and infighting continued to afflict our movement. The leadership had to spend a lot of time visiting provinces to attend to these problems instead of focusing on building the ANC and leading the country to prosperity. Despite the challenges of the day, the ANC still represents the hopes, dreams and aspirations of the millions of our people who are marginalized and who are concentrated in the periphery of our mainstream economy. A heavy responsibility rests upon the shoulders of delegates here and on the membership as a whole, to renew our movement and restore its timeless values: unity, selflessness, sacrifice, collective leadership, humility, honesty, discipline, hard work, internal debates and mutual respect. Our people must see in the ANC an organization that will take them to the life that was envisaged by the founding leaders in 1912. We can achieve that in the manner that we conduct ourselves and in which we deal with the problems facing the movement. The ANC we build through our renewal program must project the picture of a country that is cohesive, and of a ruling party that knows where it is going. This means petty squabbles that take the movement nowhere need to take a backseat. Our people are frustrated when we spend more time fighting among ourselves than focusing on solving the day-to-day challenges they experience. We should focus on the needs of our people. The ANC should once again be the first to know if there are problems in any community, and it is the ANC that must lead the process of finding solutions, working with government. We should remember that our people love the ANC. They want to be part of the ANC and its programs. This means that we should eradicate gatekeeping. It is killing our movement. We should enable people join their movement and participate in its activities. The ANC is the home of all our people, regardless of race, gender and class. In all its manifestations, factionalism has become the biggest threat to the organization. It is because of factionalism that we have seen the emergence of splinter groups over the past 10 years, which negatively affected our movement both quantitatively and qualitatively. Slate politics, another manifestation of factionalism, has also cost us many good and capable comrades in whom our movement has invested significantly. Ill-discipline has also continued to afflict the ANC, which has taken new forms in the recent past, bordering on members publicly challenging the authority of the organization. There have also been worse incidents of ill-discipline where members openly side with, and work with opposition parties and other formations that are hostile to the ANC, against positions adopted by the movement. We need to reaffirm the authority of the organization over its individual members. There should be consequences for any member who acts and speaks contrary to the values, principles and political program of the ANC. The relationship between the three arms of the state also needs scrutiny. The ANC adopted the correct position that we need an activist parliament, where employees of the party hold the executive to account as part of promoting good governance and the appropriate use of public resources, a role that has tended to be abused by opposition parties. However, the strategy of how this should be done is not clear. This new role has to some degree created confusion with the role of the opposition parties that seek to discredit government at all cost. The danger also exists for factional and personal interests to play themselves out in Parliament to the extent of the ruling party even voting itself out of power if this is left unchecked. We should also continuously guard against the use of Parliament to entrench colonial and apartheid privilege and the exclusion of the majority from the enjoyment of the benefits of citizenship. Conference must thus reflect on the kind of parliamentary culture the ANC espouses and the kind of strategies and tactics to be used so that we do not permit counter-revolution.